She slammed the glass door open like she owned the place. Clipboard in one hand, phone in the other. "You can't be in here. This is HOA property," she snapped, jabbing her finger toward me like she was about to cast a spell. I didn't flinch. I just looked up from the old land registry files spread across the oak desk. The smell of dust and pine hung thick in the air. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "this building hasn't belonged to your HOA since 2004. Karen's eyes flared. "That's a lie. I have papers. I have authority. You're trespassing, and if you don't get out in the next 5 seconds, I'm calling the cops." I leaned back in the leather chair, not moving an inch. "Go ahead." She stared at me like I'd just spit on her poodle. Then, with exaggerated theatrics, she dialed 911, turned on speaker, and screamed into the phone. "This man is illegally occupying our HOA headquarters. Send officers immediately." The dispatcher's voice came through calm, professional. "What's the address of the emergency?" Karen rattled it off, then added, "He's refusing to leave. He's armed with something I don't know, maybe files, and he's threatening the board." I raised an eyebrow. Threatening? I hadn't even stood up. "Please hold," the dispatcher said. Then silence. For 10 full seconds, Karen was already halfway to victory in her mind. She looked at me with a smug grin, mouth open to spit. Something nasty. But then the dispatcher came back. The voice was firmer now. "Ma'am, is the man's name Mr. Blake Carter?" Karen hesitated. "That's what the envelope on the desk says." Another pause. Then came the words that made her shoulders drop. "Ma'am, that's my boss." She blinked. "What?" The line clicked off. Finally stood up, slow and steady, and walked around the desk. Karen backed up like I was a grizzly bear who'd just smelled weakness. "You just made a 911 call," I said softly, "and lied on record. In a building you don't own? About a man who signs that dispatcher's paychecks." She clutched, her clipboard tighter. "Yeah, you're bluffing." I opened the top drawer of the old desk and pulled out a laminated badge county issued, signed by the sheriff himself. Her face turned the color of raw flour, and just then, red and blue. Lights flashed through the window. Karen spun toward the flashing lights like a robot rebooting mid-glitch. "Oh, thank God. Finally," she muttered, smoothing her shirt and storming outside like she was about to lead a parade. But her confident stride froze halfway down the porch when she saw who stepped out of the squad car. It wasn't the usual deputies. It was Chief Daniels. He wasn't smiling. I followed her out, slow and calm, hands in my pockets. Karen turned to him, puffed up and ready to spew another rant. "Officer, arrest this man immediately. He's inside restricted HOA property and threatening." Daniels raised a hand. Karen stopped talking. She blinked. "Excuse me?" He stepped closer, sunglasses still on, voice like steel wrapped in velvet. "That man inside? He's not just allowed in that office. He owns the building. And half the surrounding land." And he pointed a thumb to himself. "He oversees this department's Special Operations Fund." Karen's jaw opened like a trapdoor. That's not possible. I've lived here for 17 years. I've been president of this HOA for 12. Daniels tilted his head. "Really? Then you should have known that the HOA charter was revoked 12 years ago. It was never renewed. That building you're crying over?" He pulled a folder from under his arm. "Legally sold by the county to Mr. Carter 3 years ago. Recorded, sealed, paid in full." She looked like her entire soul deflated. It wasn't over yet. From the second car, a younger officer walked up with a tablet in hand. "Chief, got the 911 call pulled up. Dispatch confirms false report of a weapon, claim of property ownership without documentation, and attempted misuse of emergency services." Daniels turned to her. "That's a felony, Karen." Her clipboard slipped from her hand. Wait, I didn't mean." He said he wasn't leaving. "I thought you thought wrong." I cut in, stepping forward. "Was some guy squatting in a shed? You thought calling the cops would scare me off?" She looked up at me, voice shrinking. What do you do exactly?" I stared at her a moment, then gave her the line that shut her down completely. "I fund the emergency response budget for 3 counties, including this one." Karen stumbled back a step like that sentence physically hit her. This has to be some kind of setup. Prank. But no one was laughing. And just then, The young officer said, "Chief, we've got a digital record of Karen sending out fake HOA dues notices last week. 6 homeowners forwarded screenshots." Karen's knees wobbled. Her power had just snapped like a cheap plastic ruler. Karen's voice cracked like thin glass. No, that's not true. Those were real dues. The HOA needs funding, maintenance, lawn care." Security Chief Daniels stepped closer, lowering his voice but not the weight behind it. "Karen, you collected over $12,000 in the last 4 months from homeowners for an HOA that legally doesn't exist? That's fraud. You printed fake invoices, threatened families with eviction, and now you just made a false 911 call on a government official." "I didn't know he was a he. Never said he was." "You didn't ask," I interrupted. "Because people like you never ask. You just assume." She looked like she might collapse. Her hand reached out, almost begging. "Please, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I thought if I kept it going, maybe I could fix things." "That's not how law works," Daniels replied sharply. Then he nodded to the younger officer. "Cuff her." Karen gasped. "You can't do this. This is harassment. This is political." The officer already had her arms behind her back. She shrieked as the cuffs clicked, drawing attention from a few neighbors peeking through their blinds across the gravel road. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, watching her face twist from rage to panic, like a woman waking up to her own nightmare. "You lied to everyone, Karen," I said, walking back toward the porch. "You used fear to play queen in a game that ended years ago." Behind me, she yelled, "I was trying to protect the neighborhood." Stopped, turned. "No, I said you were trying to control it." Daniels walked past me, pulling out his phone. "I'll call county records. They'll want a full audit of every cent she took. And we'll need to notify the other residents. Make sure they know they're not on the hook for a fake HOA anymore." Karen was being helped into the back seat now, still spitting excuses, but nobody was listening anymore. As the car door slammed shut, I looked out over the lake behind the office. Calm still, like it had been waiting for this day for years. Justice had finally rippled through. I headed back inside the old office, the door creaking shut behind me. The quiet hit different now. No yelling, no threats. Just the low hum of the AC and the soft tick of the wall clock piece. Finally, the desk was still covered in documents property. Maps, emails from homeowners, letters Karen had ignored. I sat down, picked up one envelope. Side was a handwritten note from a couple who moved here 6 months ago. "We love it here, but the HOA fines are killing us. We're thinking of leaving." I sighed. For years, Karen had run this neighborhood like it was her empire. People were afraid to speak up. She handed out fines for lawn chairs being too blue, 4 kids' bikes left near the porch, 4 dogs barking after 6 p.m. I'd watched it all quietly until she pushed too far. I glanced out the window as a familiar SUV rolled up the gravel. It was Marcus' local vet, father of 4, and one of the people Karen had tried to evict last fall because of a tool shed that was 3 inches over the line. He stepped out, holding a gas station coffee and a folded newspaper. He looked up at the building, squinting like he couldn't believe it was real. I opened the door. "She's gone." He froze. "You serious?" I nodded. "Arrested. Fraud. False emergency call. Impersonating authority." The list's growing. He walked in slowly, eyes wide, like the office was sacred ground. "So it's over, almost. There's cleanup, legal letters, county notices. But she won't be running anything anymore." Marcus looked around, then chuckled. "Man, my kids are going to lose their minds when I tell them they can put the trampoline back up." I laughed. "Let 'em. And paint it neon green while they're at it." He handed me the newspaper. "Front page tomorrow. Sheriff's office already." Gave the press a statement. The headline read, "Fake HOA leader arrested after targeting county official." I stared at it a second. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like something deeper. Like breathing clean air after years in smoke. Then Marcus asked the question I knew was coming. "Blake, why now? You could have shut this down long time ago." I looked out at the lake again, 'cause people only learn when they fall hard enough. I waited for the moment she crossed the line so everyone would see it for what it was. No more doubts, no more whispers, just truth, loud and clear. He nodded slowly. Damn. And then, like fate wasn't done spinning its web, my phone buzzed.
Oh?
It was a message from the county clerk. Urgent. 2 more HOA complaints just came in. Same tactics. Same fake notices. Different towns. I stared at the screen. Karen might have been the loudest, but she wasn't alone.